lovies, it's David McGillivray here, horror icon and comedy legend, and I'm here with another edition of Little Did You Know, the chat show in which I talk to people I find interesting, and I hope you agree. Good news to start with about Patreon, because our latest subscriber is none other than artist Nicholas Granger Taylor, and he was instrumental in getting me banned from the video sharing platform Likey. And if you want more news about that debacle, it's in the first episode of this series. But now to the episode we're currently dealing with, and my guest. She's the first blonde bombshell I've had on the show, and I first came across her in the 1990s when she was working as a cheeky agony aunt. But subsequently, she seems to have had every job going in the film business, with the possible exception of helicopter pilot. And those jobs have included everything from script development to design. She's also a film critic. She is the on-sec of the Critic Circle film division. I have no idea what those people do. I want to know. But having done all these wonderful and responsible jobs, she still maintains the demeanor of a minx. A couple of years ago, she wrote at least 2 articles about dating younger men. Only a couple of days ago, when we were talking about this program, the subject of bisexuality came up. Who knows what we're going to talk about during the next 45 minutes? The only way to find out is to introduce the very wonderful Karen Krizanovich. You can now say hello, Karen, and we'll get a glimpse of you.
That's so great. It's lovely to be here, David. And I've been a big fan of yours right from the start of doing rude things. And also I used to describe you to my friends that make it sound like you're dead. You're not. I still describe you to my friends as, oh, he writes for Joan Collins, and he writes for Jeanine Clary, and he makes lots of movies, and he also made stuff. Okay, anyway, so but it's been a joy to be in your enclave from time to time. So it's lovely to be here, and I'm very excited to be talked to you, be talked to me by you, if you know what I mean. There you
She
go.
says that now, of course, but she's seen none of the previous programs, so
No, that's true.
that explains that. Now, we're going to start by talking about your period as an agony aunt. So,
Mm.
for the benefit of those who weren't aware, she was called the Sharon Stone of agony aunts. I want to know why that was. She was a so-called sexpert, and she worked for a magazine called Sky. Now, is it fair to say, Karen, that your responses to some of your readers' problems were flippant?
Oh, yeah, yes. The okay, Dear Karen ran from about 1990, 1990 possibly, to the end of Sky Magazine, which is about 2001, I think, something like that. I had a really good run, and the unique thing about Sky, which everybody I've spoken to has agreed with this, so it had 50-50 readership in gender. So we had men and women, boys and girls reading it. And I think that's unusual for a magazine. It was very intelligent. It was kind of catty a little bit, just bitchy enough. But we had really good editors. I mean, we had Simon Hills, we had Simon Mills, we had every Simon there was. We had Angela Holden, we had Danielle Suave, and we had Tyler Brule wrote. We had a lot of really good people.
So you felt that they were intelligent enough to deal with the comments, the sort of things you were saying. I can't quote an entire letter here. I'm going to extract something from one of them. I have to say, I was going through your letters, an extraordinary number of the letters seem to have been from gay men. Was that the fact?
I still get people walking up to me and saying, I was gay in the Midlands and your column really helped me,
Oh,
which was so nice. And I said, did you follow my advice? They said, no.
well, you tried. You tried. Let me just quote something very quickly from one of your letters here. So somebody says, "I'm afraid of my sexuality. I'm also frightened of getting emotionally attached to anyone." It then went on. It's quite a complex problem. But this is what you said. Methinks I hear the tiny footsteps of the men in white coats padding up behind you. Now, how did you think you could get away with that?
Well, it was back in less politically correct times when it was okay to say terrible things about people and not mean it, and they knew that you didn't mean it. What it was there were three parts to an answer from Dear Karen. And by the way, as far as I'm aware, outside of the first column, all of the letters were real. So none of those were elaborated at all. Some of my answers, because it took me half an hour to do the column every month, it was only monthly, and nobody could send letters back at me telling me that I was a bitch or anything. So that was great. And that's why I don't do it now, because I don't want to know what you think. um, but there were three parts. The first one was my response off the top of my head, what I would say to a friend without any censorship. The middle part would be, oh, I'm really sorry. And then the end part would be maybe a little bit of actual help, 800 number or something. I mean, you have to remember, this was pre-internet. And I'm not sure it would really survive now. Also, nobody's really interested in sex anymore. Not really, not without TikTok. So yeah.
But we know you did more good than harm because, as you say, you did hear from some of your readers later on, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I have spoken to quite a few, and I'm always surprised that they're not very elderly. I expect them to be it's the head in a jar. Um, and normally I just say, what did you think? Or they'll say, I really loved it. It was my favorite page. It made me laugh. You made me feel like I wasn't alone. It's when people are too careful with you, you wonder if they're telling you the truth. And a friend will always say, okay, for example, let's say, David, I think you look great today in what you're wearing, but maybe somebody else would think it's too funereal or too, maybe look as cat burglar or something. So you really, a friend can be flippant and offhand, and that's really what it was supposed to be. And also, I think I got fed up because I was raised to be very forthright sexually, and we would talk about death and sex and money, in my family. So when people got very precious, I would just get fed up.
I'm glad you mentioned your childhood there, Karen. That's where we're going back to. You were born, depending on what source you consult, either near Chicago or more specifically in Big Rock, Illinois. Yes, Karen is nodding. She did a philosophy degree, but then there's a missing link in your career. How did you manage to fetch up in the late 80s in London?
Aha. Well, a secret that I used to cry about a lot was the fact I failed my one of my MA, my master's degrees defenses for my thesis, and I was the only one that failed in the whole year. So I came out, and a friend of mine walked me across the bridge that I wanted to jump off of. And then the next 24 hours, I booked a flight with my then, I think, husband or boyfriend, I can't remember what he was at the time, who lived in England. And he lived in the north of England, and he lived in London. So that's why I just escaped ostensibly to write the thesis and return to defend it, which I never did.
Well, one of your first jobs, if not the first, was working for Auburn Waugh, son of grumpy Evelyn Waugh. Now, is it true, this was a literary job, is it true that he changed your name?
Yes, he did. Actually, yes, that's true. Because I was in my khaki wearing men's clothes phase. And I walked into his office, and I was writing reviews, but he wanted me to be the manager, some sort of office manager. I thought, oh, you're kidding. So I remember sitting reverse on the chair, like Mandy Rice Davis. And then I ran out of cigarettes. So I came up and asked him if I could have one of his. And he had a new pack, so he had to open it for me. And I realize now, looking back at it, it was very rude. But I said, I want to write. He said, well, you can't use your real name, Karen Finley, because this is exactly how he put it, a New York performance artist who sticks yams up her ass on stage. Actually, I may be paraphrasing because I don't think he put it that bluntly. And I was very shocked because I'd never heard of this woman before. So I made a list of names and he chose Karen Krizanovich, which is my mother's maiden name.
Now we know. I never knew your real name was Finley.
Pretty boring.
No, this is why I like doing this program. Now, after that, you start doing everything under the sun, including voiceovers. Now, can we go onto YouTube and see something you've done the commentary for, or what?
You can see some snippets from some television shows, but I didn't really keep track of them. When your career is going flat out, which mine was, everything was a blur. And I've got friends that remember more about it than I do. I only saved a few things, like having my photo taken by famous photographers. That was fun. I did that, and that's on YouTube. But anything on YouTube is pretty much something that I've dredged up and stuck on there. I don't find it really that much fun to look at because I couldn't dress. And I still look, I don't know. I don't really like me on television, so not that interested.
Well, I do hope you're going to like yourself when you see yourself on this show. I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky to get her. She did say she was not going to do this until she'd been to the hairdressers.
Well, we have to have some standards. This is a visual medium.
It looks fine to me, Karen. You complained to me that you'd been caught in the rain.
Yes.
But shall we talk about Vanity and where does this come from? Is it a vice or a virtue?
Well, my mother is very into presentation, and that's how I was raised. And I'm sure she was disappointed that I wasn't feminine enough because I never have been. I always envied boys because boys got to do more stuff and they didn't have to worry about things. And when I found out I was a girl, boy, that was a shock. Wow, was I unhappy. Yeah, I suppose now I probably would have been put on puberty blockers. But no, I had to deal with it. So I remember my mother announced at the table when I got my period, well, Karen's now a woman. I'm like, oh! It's one of the worst things. You just get so disappointed because you think, well, there goes all the fun, I can't climb trees anymore. And, anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. I think vanity is very important as a motivating factor. And also, I mean, for yourself, for oneself, because people can turn the sound down and they really are going to judge you as they judge you in real life visually. So I always try to look great because I figure I might be saying something that's pretty stupid or something that's not clear. And I think if you look, I mean, the first show I did was sex talk, and I hired my own makeup artist who then drew butterfly wings over half of my face. And I said, no, I'm talking about sex. You're going to make me look like a circus act. I said, I want you to make me look like Margaret Thatcher right now, because I'm going to be saying some pretty wild stuff. Which I then chickened out and didn't say, but it worked.
Well, needless to say, you're looking magnificent, Karen. Vanity obviously works where in your respect. Are you prepared to tell us how old you are?
No, no, because once I say it here, somebody will just, because I'm always trying to. Yeah, I lie about my age so much that I have to lie about my mother's age. But I mean, I have had a lot done, if that helps.
It does get very confusing, doesn't it? Remembering how old you're supposed to be. But, you go online, Karen has so many different ages.
Good. That's what we want.
I can't work it out, Karen.
No, that's good. Even, the security questions for the bank, I've lied so many times on my they say, no, that's not security. I'm thinking, I should write this down.
You have, as I mentioned earlier, you've done a lot of jobs in the film business. Now, my feeling is that companies ring you up and they say, can you do X, and whatever X is, you just say, yeah, I'll do that. Now, is that close to the truth?
Kind of. I think, yes. Normally, the jobs that I get calls from friends who are in the film industry who say, I can't find anybody good to do this. Will you do it? Okay. And now that I say it that way, it sounds quite flattering. But I think if you know, the filmmaking ethos is pretty much the same as journalism. Long hours, you have to work really hard, and you don't get a break on the deadline. This is not you wasting time. You're working flat out. I mean, working on a film is 12 to 14 hours or more, as you would know. So it's hard work. It's not glamorous.
Oh, no, we want to talk about glamour.
Okay, can be glamorous. Working with you is glamorous.
It certainly isn't. We'll come to that in a minute. But no, just drop a few glamorous names, please, Karen.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, I've worked on, now this is research for this. I've worked on Gravity, which was fun. I did The Conjuring 2. Oh, God, I should have a list, actually. I was on the set of Mad Max Fury Road, which was wonderful. Gosh, I should have a list because it's been quite a few. I worked on The Old Guard, Infinite, which is coming out soon. And it looks like I might be working on Aquaman 2 in 2021.
That'll do. I have to say that Karen has worked on a couple of less glamorous films. Now, one of them was my film Trouser Bar, and this is where I always do this. I hold it up because Trouser Bar is included on this DVD, which just happens to be a Piccadillo release, Boys on Film. It's very good. But you also worked on an earlier film of mine called Tintone of Vervain. Now, for that job, you were looking after its star, the late, great Fenella Fielding. What did you learn about Fenella on that film?
It was wonderful to look after her. Everybody had told me, though, she's an icon, and she was iconic, and that, she can be difficult, just warning me, because I'm not the world's most tactful person at all. And she was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I was in her lovely, it wasn't a suite, but it was pretty close, where she was staying. And I had heard that she wore 2 brassieres for her magnificent bosom, for which she was famous. She also had the most amazing face and the most amazing skin and lovely eyes, although crazy eye makeup. And when she took off her top, and I said, really, I should go. You just have some privacy. She said, no, stay. So I thought, okay. And they were just enormous, 2 enormous brassieres, but beautifully fitted. So it looked wonderful. It was sort of like something that, Isadore thingy Brunel, like one of those bridges, or in fact the bra that Howard Hughes designed for The Outlaw.
Jane Russell,
who never wore it, threw it. He was a cantilevered bra. She just threw it off.
I think it was because it was so uncomfortable.
I think, probably engineering-wise, it really, really worked. But what I thought was interesting, that there were rumors, I don't know whether it's true, that at one point at least, Marilyn Monroe had 2 bras, or at least slept in a bra. So I think there's this whole thing about getting Cooper's droop. If you're a woman, you have to worry about it, particularly if you've had boobs. Now, thank heavens, I never really had boobs, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, be that as it may, regarding your non-existent boobs, it's just not true. Folks, I have to say that I doubt whether Fenella would ever have got onto the set of that film had it not been for Karen Krizanovich. Thank you very much indeed, Karen. We're going to talk about a lot more stuff in the second part of the show. But right now we're going to take a break and have a look at the trailer for Piccadillo release. Now, Piccadillo often chooses films that are very appropriate for my guest, and the same applies this week. In fact, the title of the film is Appropriate Behaviour. So have a look at this, then join us again in another couple of minutes.
Yes. My name is Shireen. I am an Iranian, bisexual teacher, and I would like to take you out for a drink.
When are you going back to work?
I'm not.
No, I'm not letting you fall into a bottomless pit of despair and unemployment.
It says in your file that you haven't worked a shift in 4 months.
Extenuating circumstances. I've had a very broken heart. I'm like one bad romantic encounter away from moving to France and changing my identity. I'm looking for the grown-up underwear of a woman in charge of her sexuality and not afraid of change.
I've got that.
Have we met before?
I don't think so. I used to be a hair model, so you might recognize me from that.
Yeah, that's probably it.
They have no idea you're bisexual?
They know, I know they know.
Why is there only one bed?
It's European. Also in the movie Beaches, these two best friends shared a bed, and it was very inexpensive.
She has this like younger child thing. She has no goals or aspirations. She takes nothing seriously, and she's becoming a loser.
You are ruining my birthday.
You're ruining my 20s.
You are a woman and you have breasts, and there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, I know.
You deserve a sexy, supportive bra just like any other woman.
Okay.
You know, the great thing about Piccadillo is that there are lots of titles that are available that you would never see otherwise. And I love them. I love getting their emails, and I've been getting their emails for years and years, which is great. But they've really opened my eyes to a whole genre, many genres of films I wouldn't have seen otherwise.
It's absolutely true. This is Little Did You Know, the chat show. I'm David McGillivray, and you've just seen my special guest this week, Karen Krizanovich, a woman of many parts. We've talked about several of them, but now we're going to talk about even more. Now, about 10 years ago, you discovered the so-called beauty dictator of Hollywood. Her name was Sylvia of Hollywood, and she was a very early personal trainer. The only difference was that she had very, very illustrious clients indeed, including Norma Shearer and Gloria Swanson. But then, I believe, she wrote a book dissing all of them. Tell me, Karen, how did you discover this remarkable woman?
I'm so glad when you said 10 years ago, I was thinking, geez, what's he going to say? Okay. I was okay. I kept seeing this woman's name. Okay. I'm an accredited personal trainer, basically because, well, I volunteer at the YMCA and I work in a certain program for them, which has been great. I've been doing that for a long time. So in my research, I would keep seeing this name, Sylvia of Hollywood, and I thought, it's weird. And it turned out she didn't have a Wikipedia page, but she ended up being sort of the first beauty guru to the stars. She did exercise, movement, and also diet. But she was, I think she's Swedish. I think so, because it's very convoluted. I couldn't really find a lot in her midlife. But I started researching her, trying to put a story together, because she had a syndicated column. She had a nationwide radio show. She had best-selling books, not just the Hollywood book that was ghostwritten by a very cunning journalist. And she got into a lot of trouble for that. In fact, she got kicked out of Hollywood for that, really. She was going to have a play written about her life. And I mean, there was newsreel footage of her, which has disappeared. And then suddenly, boom, she vanishes. But what lasts of Sylvia Ullback, now is I've written her entire Wikipedia page, and now people are doing their PhDs and master's theses on her, which is great. And I had over 100 references, and I had to take some of them out because I think, why am I giving all my work away here? Let them find it themselves. But more and more is coming out about her. And she was into, she started a career very late. She was either in her 50s, I think, when she started doing all this. Into posture, exercise, and also violent massage. And apparently she was so rough that they had to turn the music up at the studios because I heard people screaming.
Well, she now lives again, thanks to you, Karen, and you can look her up, Sylvia of Hollywood, on the Wikipedia page that Karen wrote. Now, I heard this program and I thought, I reckon Karen and I could pitch some programs at the radio. And we came up with 2 or 3 ideas, all of which were rejected.
Yes, yes.
But our favourite, I think I'm right in saying, concerned Mondegreens. Now, can you tell us, Karen, what is a Mondegreen?
Oh, Mondegreen is a misheard lyric, like, excuse me while I kiss this guy. Yes, and it's from Lady Mondegreen. You'll have to look that one up yourself. But yeah, that was a good idea, and you get them all the time. Shaka Khan, climb every woman. There are some, I'm trying to remember some more, but it's usually when you're singing along in the car with your friends or by yourself, and you realize that you have either no idea what the people are saying, and you just kind of muffle through it, or you say something that's completely wrong. And I discovered to this very day, in fact, last week, I discovered I was saying a lyric completely wrong, and I was so embarrassed I blotted it from my memory. But another thing, were we planning on doing Give It Back, or was that another? So I thought that was another. We looked at the Oscars and we decided who was really supposed to win that award, and the show is called Give It Back.
It was nothing to do with me, but it's another great idea. Look, if there's any commissioners watching, we've got lots of ideas. Karen just quoted what I think was going to be the title of the program, Kiss This Guy. The real lyric is Kiss the Sky, and it may be an urban myth, but we're told that Jimi Hendrix heard that people were singing Kiss This Guy, and he started singing that in his act. I don't know if that's true. Karen, what's your favourite Mondegreen?
I'm afraid it is Climb Every Woman, because an ex told me that, and he was singing. I said, no, it's not Climb Every Woman, unless you're a cat. So.
Well, I'm a great admirer of that very lovable creature, Gladly the Cross-Eyed Bear.
I wanted to ask you what yours was. Oh, Gladly, and I always thought he was a religious creature, but just needed to go to an optician.
And of course, if you're interested in Mondegreens, you must go onto YouTube and look up Peter Kay's act, because if you haven't seen it, his examples are just absolutely hilarious. Now, as I mentioned before, Karen, you're the honorary secretary of the Critic Circle, the film division. You do a lot of film reviews. Some are from for Radio Times, a magazine I also write for, but I haven't a clue what you people do when you get together. Come on, reveal all.
Well, Michael Caine got us pretty much right when he came to one of our awards ceremonies and said, what do? You just sit in a circle and criticize? Yeah, pretty much that's what we do. The Critic Circle has about 400 members across all disciplines: music, books, theater, dance. The film section is the largest. I always thought it was honorable secretary, and it's honorary, which is, I thought honorable is so much better. Or hom sec. I basically get information wrong and then write terrible minutes and say somebody said something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. What we've tried to do is to standardize what critics get to see. And also we're trying to diversify as well. So we're bringing in a lot more quote unquote minority, but people that you wouldn't see normally. A lot of people think that the Critic Circle is just white old guys, which for a long time it was. But one of the reasons that you should become a film critic, you don't get any money. Even Robbie Collin, who works his tail off, or Peter Bradshaw, they work very, very, very hard. Any money, is because you live forever. Film critics never die. They go to be, in their hundreds or even 200 years old. So that's really the great thing about being a critic.
Well, it clears it up. I thought you were some kind of union, and you were looking after critics' lives and careers. And
we kind of are. We're not like the NUJ, but we are a big bitch fest. If you cross us, we have connections with the Golden Globe people who are crazier than we are. Can I say crazy? They're a bit eccentric, which is, yeah. And also we have connections with the Film Distributors Association, which has to do with, and also the BBFC, which is the censorship people. So we do work hand in hand, but primarily we're here to provide standardized experiences for critics who then tell you, this is a good film, you'd like this. This is a film that maybe it's not so good. I mean, personally, I don't want to review anything that I don't like. I mean, I don't get along with horror, although I watched a horror film the other day called Host, which I thought was wonderful. And of course, I love your little horror films. They're great.
Thank you very much for that. Now, I can't let this pass. What makes the Golden Globe critics eccentric?
It's a very good question. There's not too many of them. And I haven't really met any, although our chair has. Well, we've just had an outgoing, ingoing chair, so both of our chairs have. They seem to be kind of randomly selected, and they have some very random selections. And I think their history is also a bit sketchy, but that's my own personal opinion and not that of the circle.
Now, you will write about almost anything, and for some years you've been writing about a sparkling wine. How did that come about?
Well, okay, I've been a journalist for a long time, 30 some years, maybe almost more. And I drank a lot of bad wine because when you go to whether it's music or books or theater or whatever, there's a lot of plonk. And 30 years of plonk really did it. So I discovered that I couldn't really drink anymore. And even though Alan Jones can get away with it because he doesn't like taste alcohol, that's fine. I feel a compulsion as an outsider to, have a drink and try and fit in. So I discovered that champagne I could drink, didn't make me feel sick. And I only said maybe 25% of the stupid stuff that I would normally say. So I started drinking this, and then I thought, if you want to learn more about something, become a journalist in the subject. So I started writing about champagne for Civilian Global, which is edited by Marco Flaherty. Suzanne Moore also has written for it. And I'm now venturing into global sparkling wine, which is very interesting.
Are you forever to be found hanging around vineyards?
I wish I could say yes. I find they're really dull. And I want to just play with the grapes, which you can't do because they're dangling and they're round and they're cute. They're asking for it. So no, I go out there, I nod, and then I head for the barn.
Now, when you're not having your hair done, Karen, you're often astride a horse or riding side saddle. Let me find out about this. Now, how long have you been riding horses? And second part of the question, has it become an obsession?
I've been riding horses since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I always thought it was sort of on the spectrum with this because it was something like a terrible addiction. Some people are really into pantyhose or leather, rubber. With me, it's the shape of the horse and the fact that a horse is powerful and you can escape things on a horse, which is great. And also horse is kind of mystical for a lot of people because they can kill you and they're also a prey animal, so they get scared really easily, and they're huge and very strong, and they can push you around if they want to. But they're also very sensitive. So it's a mix of things. And for years I stopped riding because I wanted to break myself. I gave away all my riding gear, and that didn't work very well.
You're still riding, and not only that, you're now playing polo.
I have badly, I might say, but polo is really fun. There are places in this country, in the UK, and also I started in Dubai. Press trip. They said, do you want to go to the beach or you want to have a polo lesson? So that was a terrible thing to start, because if you want to start riding a horse, go get a polo lesson, because the polo ponies are sane. They're very relaxed because they work in a herd, and they will stop when you want to stop. It's wonderful.
Okay, honest Injun, how good a horsewoman are you?
My mother says, why are you still having lessons? I'm okay. I'm not great. I'm not gifted. Let's put it that way.
It's something you immensely enjoy.
No, I don't even know why I do it. There are times when I'm out on a horse and it's 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm thinking, what am I doing up here? And you know what I think it is? It's because I just need to get away from the city. I grew up in a small town, rural Illinois, Big Rock. And I don't want to stare at a screen. I don't want to play games on a screen all the time. I want to be out away from devices. And I can't think of any other way to do it.
Good enough, Karen. Let's move on to two subjects that surprised me when we had a little chat
Right.
earlier this week. So you brought up, first of all, the subject of astrology. Why?
I don't really have a why. I don't really have an answer for the why. But I do see an astrologer every year. Her name is Jessica Adams, and she spends some time, typically when there's no virus around, she'll spend some time in Great Britain and some time in Australia. And I met her through friends of friends. And she's very, very well-known astrologer, and she's changed my life. So in fact, last year in 2019, she had a meeting with me, as we always do, and she told me, get ready for something big, pay off all your debts, embrace yourself. And I said, when she said it, she was so adamant, she scared me. So I didn't do anything fun. I paid off everything and squirreled all the nuts together. And when COVID hit, I wasn't too surprised. So that was great.
Right, I'm going to challenge you on this because I like to play devil's advocate.
I love devil's advocate.
Okay, so have you in any sense interpreted what she said as the pandemic?
No, because we thought it was going to be Brexit. And we just saying, yeah, well, she said there's something big. And actually she was in the Daily Mail, and even though the Daily Mail is questionable, they get some good stories and they pay the writers at least. So she is in the Daily Mail. You can look it up, that she had predicted COVID. Now, at the time when I saw her, she didn't tell me that that's what it was, but she said it was something really big and unforeseen. That's how I remember it. I mean, we were drinking a lot during the meeting.
Okay, but one more thing and then we'll leave it, I promise you. But why couldn't she have said, there's a pandemic coming?
Very good point. I will ask her, because I'm in touch with her, and I will ask. She'll say, look in the Daily Mail. Because, I think the level of discussion, when I was 17, I was an astrologer's apprentice because I was so bored. My parents wouldn't let me learn Russian. So I thought, what else can I do? It was before, like I said, it was before computers. So we were using slide rules and stuff. It was really hard. And tiny little ephemerae, where they charted all the planets. It was nuts. I like the mystical and I like the unreachable. And I like the fact that it's not scientific. It's great. So, I'm sure that she would have had more markers for me that it was pandemic, but with me, maybe that wouldn't have worked as a client. It's possible.
What sign are you, Karen?
I am Taurus, Venus in Aries, Moon in Taurus.
Are you typical of your sign?
No, not really. I'm more Aryan, I would say.
What are the qualities of an Aryan?
Oh, they can't shut up. They do things. They don't wait for anything. Like last night, I was pulling apart an artichoke that was flaming hot, and I was told to leave it to cool off. And I said, why? And then I quoted, the edit from Lawrence of Arabia, where he puts out the match. And the trick is not to mind.
Right.
Exhausted.
Finally move on to the fact that 2 years ago, you decided to tell the world at least twice.
Oh, no.
That yes, you were dating again. Now, what happened? It had something to do with the fact that you discovered you were attractive to much younger men, or shall we call them toy boys? No, I'm getting it wrong. She's shaking her head. Tell us the truth, Karen.
That's okay. No, I had a long-term relationship came to an end, and you're just kind of feeling, you just think, well, what can I throw myself into something that's going to distract me? So I'd never been on any dating apps. Dating as a euphemism, by the way. It's a big euphemism. There's no dating. I put out snacks. Anyway, so, and I was thinking, okay, my ego took a beating. I'm getting older. I want to look like Catherine Hellman in Brazil. That's my plan. And I'm not there yet. So the mask thing is great, covers up. I would like the whole mask, everything. So I'm afraid of looking not great, and it'll happen to me anyway, and it happens to big beauties of all ages. Why it's not going to miss me. So I thought, well, how stupid are guys or anybody really? Because I think I was looking for women and men actually, but that's nobody's business. That's mine. And I was looking for people in my age group, but of course they were all dead. So I had to ratchet it down a bit. And I just found that young guys were really interested in talking and really interested in knowing about women and confused about their lives a little bit. And it was kind of refreshing in a way for a while.
How lucky were you with the younger generation?
Very lucky? I don't know what you mean. Yeah, I was very lucky.
You scored.
Yeah.
Several times.
Once or twice.
Is this ongoing?
No, it's not. I'm afraid. No, sorry. It's exhausting, by the way. If you really want to seriously do it, it's a full. I don't know how professional dominatrix and things like. Not that I did that. No. I don't know how they do it because it's exhausting. All the cleaning and changing of the clothes and the lingerie and the nails and the hair and that's just them. But no, it was fun. It proved a point, and it kind of got old, or maybe I got old. That's possible.
All right, but even though maybe you don't want to go into personal details, but bisexuality, discuss.
Right. Well, I've always been open. I mean, with my family, well, my mother anyway, has always been very open about sex in all different ways. And I just figured you're really attracted to people as opposed to gender. I haven't fallen in love with a tree or a horse or anything like that. But I think if you're bisexual or if you're attracted to various people, you don't need to put a label on yourself unless that helps you, makes you feel that you have some sort of identity. But what I do is my business, really. And the articles about the dating, the various dating apps, yes, I was on all of them, lying about my age and putting up pictures where people thought I was a catfish, which was wild because I thought they were just nice pictures. I thought, what the hell are other people putting up? I wouldn't use a filter either. Well, I did on a couple in the end. But so really what one wants to try or is attracted to or finds engaging, you can either talk about it or not. And this is nothing new for me. I mean, when I was writing Dear Karen, I was the same person, basically, only younger and fatter. And I think even then, so that actually helped me write the column in a way that I haven't reread it because I don't think it's aged well, but I don't think I was ever racist or necessarily sexist, or if I was sexist, I was evil to everybody, evenly.
Well, there are those who say that everybody is naturally bisexual. But Karen is nodding, but alas, it's a subject for another program. We've almost run out of time, but I do want to end by asking you, because you, of all people, must be the person who knows. What's the future of the film industry?
The film industry is going to be healthier than ever. The pandemic has been actually very good for it. It's made people focus on what the market forces really are. It's changing the nature of film festivals, and it's also making a lot of smaller stories available to a bigger market. So whereas some of the traditional theatrical exhibitors are going to be in trouble, and some production companies will also be in trouble, ultimately, I think we'll have a cleaner meaning more efficient, better delivery system for watching films either on the big screen, as I believe they should be seen initially, but always great to own at home so you can watch again.
Reasonably good news, Karen. Thank you very much. And I know that even our hosts, Piccadillo Pictures, are having to adapt, and I think they will. Karen, it's been lovely. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a great pleasure, David. And I feel like I've talked to you at a party, so that's great. You go and talk to some other guests now. And I noticed that you have some sparkling wine here, so I better go and have some of that.
It is just like having a chat at a party, which is why I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too, lovies. I've been David McGillivray, and I will be back again, same time next week, with another guest. But if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can get 15 bonus minutes right now, and here's where the link magically appears. Join us then, subscribers, for much more. But from me right now, David McGillivray, thank you again. See you next week. Bye.